Well, Sean, Brad has decided to take another vacation. So who better to ask to join us than Jamie this week? And he's in for a good one. It's Spurs week. This is Red Card Radio. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're listening from. Thanks for tuning in. Red Card Radio is a weekly look at the Premier League from three friends who support different clubs. My name is James. I support Arsenal. With me tonight, that's Sean down below. He supports Tottenham. And with us, of course, as always, it's Jimmy. Hello, Jimmy. He supports Liverpool. How you doing?
Hey, guys. Pretty good. Thanks for having me. Glad to be on to give Sean a hard time. It's always a good time.
That's what we're here for.
I'm good because we're finally talking about a proper team here.
A proper team. Ooh.
I mean, we can talk about Liverpool again if you want.
So
but Hamzy did a good job, though.
Yeah, I think so too. If you guys have missed anything, right now we're kind of in the point of our the summer break where we're taking a look at all of the specific clubs, most of the clubs that we support and our friends support, and kind of digging into what we think their transfer needs are, what their squads are going to look like. And so the first week we took on Arsenal, then I think it was Liverpool. Then last week we did Chelsea. Tonight we're going to do Spurs. So if you've missed any of those episodes, you can find those in the Season 5 playlist on our YouTube channel, or you can just kind of scroll back in whatever podcast app you are listening on. And while you're there, if you're new, if you've stumbled across, if you could hit that subscribe button, ring the sub notification bell. If you're on the podcast, follow, 5-star review, whatever your platform so allows, and then definitely hit that share button. Put it on your social medias. Share it with your brother or your sister. Those things really do help us out quite tremendously. And as Brad would remind us, if you were here, we're still in Operation Trick Google. We want them to think that we're, legitimate. And so help us with that. All right, so Spurs. Where should we start, Sean? Other than the goalkeepers, you guys have 5 goalkeepers, I see, or 4 goalkeepers. You have a number of goalkeepers. I guess since you've got rid of Lloris. So what's going on with the Spurs goalkeeping department?
Well, we've got 2 youngins, 2 academy players. They have been pretty consistent as our just combo number 3. So they're not going anywhere. Brandon Austin just signed another deal. He's going to stick around because that's kind of the tried and true setup, right? You have your number 1, you have a capable backup, whether that's an older player or whether that's someone challenging for the number 1, and then you have a young goalkeeper or academy goalkeeper. So, Vicario was incredible last year in his debut season. I see no reason to believe that's going to change. So I am all set there. Fraser Forster is a solid backup. So
he's hurt though, right?
Is he hurt for a long time? I see that he is hurt, but
I think he's got like a broken foot or something like that when I was reading earlier.
Ankle injury,
fractured
return
foot.
unknown. Okay. Time for one of the youngins to step up.
Yeah, might be.
You guys have Europa League football this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we may, depending on the length of that injury, and clearly only they know that, we may need to just get someone.
I don't know. If you sign this Brendan Austin cat to a 5-year extension, why not rock him out there in the Europa
I'm not opposed
League?
to it.
That's
or at least all the cups.
Yeah,
all of the domestic things. Yeah,
Carabao Cup especially, because like Fraser Forster is kind of your Forster's the guy who, he's there to be a reliable stopgap if Vicario is injured for a long time because he's a known commodity, right? We are in December, we're 4th in the league, fighting for 3rd. And we need somebody that we know is reliable for the next 6 weeks before Vicario's back from his hamstring tear or hamstring strain or whatever. Like we know he's a known commodity. But my other question about both the Brandon Austin and the Alfie Whitman is they're 25. Like I don't know about Liverpool's number 3 goalkeeper, but Arsenal's number 3 goalkeeper is like 21, 22, something like that. Fairly young.
Our number 3 goalkeeper is Adrian, and he's like 58 years old.
Oh, is he still on the squad?
There's talk that he's moving back to Spain this summer. I don't know if it's official or not yet, but he's our number 3.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So you guys did it in reverse. You got the young one as the number 2.
Well, Kellerman,
Who could be a number 1 about anywhere.
Yeah,
he's an outstanding goalkeeper.
Yeah,
that's
he's
funny.
good.
Yeah, so like it seems to me that like Whiteman, you just gotta like send him to Stockport and let him have a year at Stockport so he can build up a CV before he goes and finds a new club next summer when his contract expires.
Yeah, we could. Now on the defensive side, we've got some addressing to do because we have not addressed the backup left-sided center back, and we keep being linked to right-footed center backs. They're all right-footed center backs, and it just doesn't help. And like Calafiore, he's right-footed, right?
I don't know.
It's not really that uncommon to have 2 right primary footed center backs. I mean, a lot of clubs do.
Yeah.
I think that's less. To me, I think that's less important in the modern game because I mean, like William Saliba is our left-sided center back, but for France and the Euros, he was put into the team of the Euros as the right-sided center back. No, that's inverted. Sorry. But you know what I mean? Like, you get my point. It's like for Arsenal, he plays on the right. And then for France in the Euros, he played on the left. And like, it was just fine. Right. And so like, if your player's good enough, they can figure it out.
Sure. The talent of these players, I'm sure that they are probably extremely both-footed and it really doesn't matter. But I think the idea is that you would like to have a left-footed and a right-footed because the idea of playing out of the back and playing that way is to make quick decisions and be comfortable in those decisions. And if you're forced onto your weaker foot, you may be prone to make more mistakes. That's the idea of it, while prefacing that with these guys should be good enough where it shouldn't matter. So
yeah, I mean, I think you have a general left side of the field deficiency across the board, don't you? Like, you don't have a lot of like left-sided like strong players. Your depth on the left seems low.
Well, Udogi's very good, and he should be ready for the beginning of the season. He's just got a hamstring injury, so especially if he's not playing and he's not training, if he's truly resting and
But
rehabbing, he's going to be.
Do you have a real reliable backup for him?
No, that's why I think Jamie Donnelly is playing left back there. Reguilon is back. I don't think he is staying. And then the natural backup is Ben Davies. So that's where we ran into a big issue last year and why Davies had to go back out there because he had been playing center back. Davies had, and covering for center back injuries. And so when Udogi went down last year at the end, we were putting in Royal and that wasn't working. And, we were trying this and that. And finally they just had to put Davies back out there just to calm it down because he's just he's a reliable player. He's not a championship winning player anymore, but he's reliable. So you're not.
And
speaking you're not of Royal, risking.
Speaking of Royal.
Yeah. Speaking of Royal, rumor has it, he, might be traveling south for the, winter / forever.
That's pretty confirmed. I believe he was left off the Asia trip. We are playing a game in Japan, coincidentally enough, not against Ange's previous team, which I thought was odd. If we're going to Japan, I thought he would make the trip to Yokohama and play his former team, but we're playing Kobe, I believe. Maybe it was the rival of Yokohama. And then we make our normal trip to Korea. We play one friendly with a team, and then we play the Korean All-Stars. And then we're back home, and that is when all of the Cup players are coming back. That's our Copa people and our Euro people. It's not actually too many people, so we should be okay. It's just our Uruguayan contingent and Argentinian contingent. It's Lo Celso, Romero, Bentancur. Actually, they're all Argentinian, aren't they?
Bentancur is Uruguayan.
Is Uruguayan. Okay, I had it right the first time. And then Van de Ven played in the Euro as well.
For
I think
the other ones, okay.
I think Vicario was on the team, but was not.
Italy
Didn't play, so
Italy were eliminated relatively quickly too. So
yeah,
They were.
yeah, and it's not like he was. When first of all, when you're a goalkeeper, you're not extremely active. It's not like losing the legs of a midfielder or something all summer. But he also wasn't playing. So, so yeah, those will come back once we land back in, and we've got I think we've got something like a neutral site and a home with Bayern Munich or something along those lines, or maybe we play them in Bayern and then they come to us. Something like that. Something's going. We're doing 2 games with Bayern.
Get the new Vincent companies. See how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't think they'll be very good personally, but
I don't think
I'm super excited about it.
I don't think it's related to the Harry Kane transfer because we have played Bayern many times. I think
I think it was, wasn't it? Wasn't it a stipulation of the Kane transfer that they would play a friendly series to get more revenue for both the clubs?
Maybe.
I thought it would take a Harry.
But we play Bayern pretty regularly in the preseason. Our clubs have a fairly good relationship.
Yeah, but think about another game against Bayern Munich in the preseason at the Hotspur Stadium. Like that's you're going to sell it out. That's another entire game's worth of gate plus concessions, all that stuff. I think it's actually, I do vaguely remember that as part of the Kane transfer is that there was like an agreement that that they would play a friendly series. It seemed very college football of them.
But, definitely. Yeah.
So
I don't mind.
So if I'm hearing your general consensus about the defense is that you would like another center back, preferably left-footed, but just in general another center back. I think you feel like you need a left back, like a backup left back, a legitimate backup.
Yeah, unless he thinks Donnelly is going to be good enough.
Who is this Donnelly?
Jamie Donnelly was he's like an 18-year-old. He may just still be on
he's a youth player. Okay.
Youth player. But he is our star 17, 18-year-old. You'll see Alfie Devine down there, but that's because he turned 19 and he had to sign. So I don't think he's actually going to play. You see, he transferred from the U21.
Yeah.
I don't think he's actually Devine's going to actually play. He'll either stay with the Premier League 2 or we'll loan him. I think he got loaned last year. But in any event, yes, we need a left back. If Donnelly is not going to be some type of pariah that is just really good at all positions for some reason. But this isn't hugely uncommon. The reverse happened with Gareth Bale, right? We came to Tottenham, he was a left back, and they put him at left wing, and there you go, off to Madrid for $1 million.
You said his name is Jamie Donnelly?
Yeah.
All right. So I know nothing about him, but Transfer Market lists him as a second striker.
Yes, he is a striker. He played striker for the youth academy last year.
But he's going to be a backup left back in the pros.
That's what I was saying. Why it's notable.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing.
I think we've hit the nail on the head with Tottenham need left back depth.
Yes,
big time.
Yes. So he started both preseason games at left back.
Okay. I'm tracking now. So he's playing left back in the preseason friendlies under Ange. Okay.
Starting, not just. This isn't a Saka left back in the middle of a game situation.
I mean, that's where Unai Emery started him, was as a left back. We needed a left back, and so that's where Saka started for us.
That's where he got his experience. Yeah.
You guys definitely need a left back, and I think it seems like you need a right back. Or do you feel
so Spence has been playing well. I mean, as well as you can discern from a preseason, right? Like, I think he scored 2 goals from the right back position in preseason.
Means almost nothing.
And if that's encouraging if he's actually taking it seriously, because we had to recall him from his loan last year because he wasn't being played, and it was because the team we were loaning him to says he doesn't care to be here.
I think that goes back to what I was talking about last week when we were talking about Chelsea, and that if you're English and you're at a big club, that like sometimes you have an easier time. I guess that actually goes against what I'm saying because he's English. I was saying that English people have an easier time going to lower division loans. Maybe not. I don't know.
The argument, Jimmy, was that that's a very common thing within the English football structure.
Yeah.
And that
absolutely.
The English people understand that you're down there to challenge and you're down there to fight and prove your worth and build your resume.
And just because you play for Chelsea doesn't really mean anything in that division. And Englishmen know that, but the foreigners don't know it.
Yeah, you get loaned to Portsmouth and it means something, and you want to dominate at Portsmouth, so Chelsea will bring you back, and you've got a spot. That's just kind of a thing.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I've seen that for years.
So in your defense alone, you need 3 players. That's my understanding. Seems reasonable.
Yes.
And then you've got
the starters. You're all fine. I am happy with the starting back line. We're just searching for depth.
All right. So what's your preferred starting back line?
Same as last year. Romero, Van de Ven, Poor on the right, Udogie on the left.
All right. I think that has solidly 4th best in the league written all over it. So I can help it.
Romero is the best center back in the league. So
that's factually true.
Now that Van Dijk is over the hill.
Yeah. Yes. We'll see if he stays. There's a lot of rumor that he might be out, but we'll see.
All right, midfield. Let's move up to midfield. See what you feel.
So this is a crowded midfield.
Can I have a quick just a point of personal preference here? I would like to rewind the clock roughly 10 months, maybe 9 months. And Sean was telling us that Spurs have the best midfield since I don't remember when. It's the greatest midfield that God has ever conceived and blessed human eyes with was the Spurs midfield, essentially.
Since Vieira and Perez, I think I said.
Yeah, Vieira and Perez. Yeah, probably.
What about the Luka Modric? I think young Eriksson was at Tottenham at that point, and they had another player in midfield. That midfield was, and then they moved Gareth Bale up into that.
Nope.
How was that not a better midfield?
This one is better. So I just wanted to throw it out there. It needed to be reminded.
It was. That midfield was Madison, Basuma, and Sarr.
So legends.
Yes. Yeah. Not yet. I'm saying it's the best since now. So I think where I want to go on this, because Bergvall does look very good against his Swedish competition. So it's really hard to tell if that's going to translate. Most times it doesn't, but who knows? You have to be good. You have to be good in those leagues to be good anywhere else anyway. So it didn't stop Erling Haaland from getting signed and being
what's his profile? Is Bergvall more of like a box-to-box midfielder, would you say?
Bergvall is very similar, if I'm remembering, to Odegaard, in that he's pretty tall. He's pretty fluid on the ball. He has good vision.
Creative. He's a creative midfielder.
He's creative and can finish. So his ceiling is probably somewhere around Odegaard, and that would be very good. If that's what we get, fantastic.
How do you play him with like Madison?
Yeah.
Because they occupy basically the same role.
I think you would play it similar to how Arsenal did early in the season last year, where they played Kai Havertz at the left-sided midfield and let him play more of the 10, and Odegaard played more of the 8. I think that's how you would do it. Is you would let the midfield be I don't know, pick one, Basuma. They all do the same thing. Basuma, Bentancur, or Archie Gray. Let them play the 6, and then have Bergvall at the 8 on one side or the other, whichever he's more comfortable with, and have Madison be the other. And his job is primarily more forward-facing, forward-driven. That's how I would assume that they're going to do that.
Who played your 6 the most last year?
Basuma.
Basuma? Okay. That's what I thought.
Until
we
got
he's
about
your natural
10 games
choice.
in, and he forgot he forgot how to play
Forgot how to play it.
at some point.
But like Archie Gray, who you mentioned, who's your kind of new signing, right? He came from Leeds. Is that what we talked about earlier?
Yeah,
Came from Leeds.
So he's listed as a forward on your depth chart, not a midfielder.
Central
so I
midfielder.
don't know that. I haven't listed as a forward. So I would say he's probably going to be more on the attacking side instead of the 6 side. So that's another, again, going into Europe again and having a thicker schedule, you guys might have a little bit of depth concerns on that number 6 position, like just about everyone else.
Transfer market has his predominant position as a central midfielder. It is directly in the middle of the field, so I would assume that's an 8. And then he also has circles at defensive mid and right back.
It seems.
Yeah, I did read about him at right back, which is interesting.
I think you would rather play Sarr as like if you needed a standalone 6 and Basuma wasn't available and Bentancur wasn't available. I think you would rather play Sarr as your holding midfielder, sits right in front of the defense.
Sarr is very good and has very good. Sarr has very good passing skills, as well, and is pretty calm on the ball for how young he is. So that really helps if he's going to play a 6.
That would. I would agree with that.
Yeah, it does kind of seem to me that you have quite a lot of different iterations of your midfield that you guys could that Ange could try. But it also seems to me that you're going to have maybe too many iterations. Like I think you probably could use like 1 or 2 less midfielders when I look at this list on Transfer Market.
Well, unless he completely changes the way he's tactically set up. We've already talked about left back depth issues. Why doesn't Tottenham play 3 in the back?
Yeah.
And
we have 3 capable center backs. Yeah.
And you've got this new Archie Gray guy that's, midfielder / right back / whatever. I mean, if you want to convert him to being like an outside right wing back, and then
like Porro at right wing.
I don't know if Udogie could play that left wing back thing, or again, you've got some youth players that might be able to play on the left side, or you can push out one of your midfielders like Sarr maybe to, if he's got that kind of like speed athleticism. I don't know. That's an option for Tottenham.
I think you run into issues there with getting all of your attackers on the field. Then at that point, is that
it depends. Like, so are you going to play?
Are you playing like 3-5-2, or are you playing like 3-4-3? Like,
yeah, so that is the question. And again, like, we haven't got to the attackers yet with Tottenham, but my long-standing opinion of Tottenham's attackers is that they've got one of them.
Yes.
So I don't know. There is a problem of throwing that many or not having enough space, because I mean, cool. I guess Kulusevski I guess he's a solid player, but like Richarlison, even though he had a decent outing last season compared to the previous one, I don't rank him as a top player at all. If I'm Tottenham, I want him out. I want him gone.
Literally anything he did for this previous season was an improvement on what he did the year before. So he just showing up for work last year was an improvement on the year before.
Yes. Maybe his hair color was a little bit better.
What I
like about the midfield is that they have similar players that do different things. So Lo Celso plays the same role as James Maddison, but they do it in 2 different ways. So if you need to change the game in some way without sacrificing your shape or your play style, you can by introducing individualistic changes and styles to playing a certain role on the team. And same with slotting Bergvall into that, or same with slotting Bentancur in instead of Basuma. They play the same role, but do it in 2 different ways. So it depends on the flow of the game and the style of the game of which makes more sense to come off the bench, and if you need to change it based on the first half or whatever.
I guess my point is, before my last thought about the midfield is that when I'm looking at this, you guys have brought in 3 midfielders so far. 2 of them are 18 and 1 is 19, and like that's in like the expecting for all 3 of them to get the type of minutes that they need in order to develop to their potential, I think is now Alfie Devine is a promotion internally. So like he's from the academy coming into the first team. That to me screams loan, season long loan.
He'll be loaned
up. But Bergvall and Gray, like you're not gonna. I don't know if Gray was a purchase or if he was picked up on a free, but
he was purchased for 40 million.
Okay, yeah. Well,
Also,
then obviously that's a lot of money to pay for him. So obviously he's gonna play. He's gonna play.
He's going to play.
also all your
Bergvall was.
Go ahead, Sean. You're good. Go ahead.
Bergvall was 10, but that was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
They bought him just as a youth, just like we've got a center back coming in next year.
Yeah, you buy him the year before, but then you loan them directly back out to the other club, essentially. Whatever.
And he's playing in Croatia right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one other thing I was going to say is your transfer market, like rumor mill for Tottenham transfers, is also just mostly midfielders, like including Weston McKennie, which I think would actually be a decent signing for Tottenham. But I don't know where you put him.
Where would he play?
Yeah, I don't know where you'd put him.
That would be a bad signing for Weston McKennie.
I think it would be bad for Weston McKennie. I think it'd be probably fine for Tottenham. Yeah, but I wouldn't take that if I was McKennie.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as the attacking, so most of our rumors and possible moves are one's already done. Højbjerg's out on a loan. I was surprised that was a loan to Marseille. I thought it would be a straight up transfer. Maybe it's a loan with an obligation.
It's really hard to.
I thought it was a sell. It's a loan.
It might be a loan with an obligation or an option if certain things are met. Yeah, probably.
Transfer market at the bottom says it's a loan. It said loan transfer.
Interesting.
So it does say loan transfer. So it probably is a loan with an obligation. So he's gone. Skip is probably gone. But he's useful and he's like one of those locker room guys. He's an academy player. You need, and he probably satisfies our homegrown as well. So he's probably not going anywhere for that reason alone. Bentaker probably is the most expendable, although I wouldn't be very happy about that, but I could see why he would be expendable. He's 27. He's had some injury problems recently. It's not a liability or anything. It's just your best ability is availability sometimes. And he's great off the bench. I wouldn't be very happy if they transferred him, but we also don't have 55 players like Chelsea do. We have 31. So we have a more reasonable roster size. And then the other ones that are,
we have 4 more goalkeepers.
I think the plan also is that Brian Gill's going back to Spain, so he's not going to be on the team. Veliz is probably getting loaned back to Spain, although if he is anywhere competent, that's our center forward. He's a very tall 19-year-old when we signed him. He's 20 now. He's a very tall forward that plays that kind of Nunez-y style, where he's just kind of creative.
Was he on the Copa America squad?
I don't know. I know he's Argentinian. I don't know if he made the team, though.
I don't know if he played.
I thought I heard his name. Like you say his name and it sounds familiar. I feel like he played, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a different Veliz that plays that's also Argentinian.
I don't remember him.
Oh well, doesn't matter.
But Johnson, I really like. Losing Kulusevski would be tough because he is very good. But there's a rumor that Napoli really want him and the price tag is 45. And if they offer 45, you say yes.
Yes, yeah, you gotta sell
him. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, especially Napoli. They're notoriously cheap when it comes to transfers.
Yeah, they're
trying to buy low and sell high every time they transfer.
I could see Napoli offering 25 for Kulusevski.
Yeah,
but what I actually could see Napoli offering is a loan with an option for 25 at the end of the loan. But definitely only an option. And they're definitely going to try and negotiate that fee differently next summer. So
but the thing with Kulusevski, I think, is he really wants playing time, and Brandon Johnson just has more promise.
Yeah,
it's not. I don't think one is significantly better than the other. I'd say they're pretty equal. Brandon Johnson just has more creativity and speed, which is shocking speed against a lot of the left backs in the league. He gets around a lot of them. And you need that.
What I would say about Kulusevski is that I would take him as a backup to Saka.
Yeah, you guys would probably take him in a heartbeat.
I think he would be a great backup for Saka and would allow Arteta to not need to play Saka nearly as much as he does. So
Yeah, you would probably take either one of those players, I'm sure,
Yeah,
as a
certainly.
backup to Saka.
Certainly.
But you're not paying $50 million for it, but
No,
you
absolutely.
would take them.
Yeah.
Solomon also was really impressive in the few games that he played, but he was injured most of the year. There's rumors that he's out the door as well, but I don't see why, other than that we signed him on a free and anything we make is a profit. Like that would be the only advantage I see. I think he's a fine replacement. Give Son a break. Let Solomon play on the left. It's perfect.
Well, you have to, I think,
don't see it.
prepare for the eventuality that Son will not be with the team anymore. He's 32. He'll be 33 at the end of the season. Like there's going to be a point where you have, and especially, I thought he had
With Europe.
I thought he had an off year last year. You point out that you think that his numbers were fine. I think that he's trending down personally.
I think his numbers on paper were fine. He also was playing injured most of the year and will not admit it. It's been confirmed with a number of Spurs staff or insiders or what have you, that he was playing with some nagging injuries all year, but he'll never admit that. And he's not going to blame his performance on anything just because that's not the type of player he is.
Like even if we eliminate all that, he's still 32. Like he's going to be 33 at the end of the year. Like there's a certain point where as a winger, your speed evaporates. Like you lose your speed, and like that's a huge component to his game. And his ability to beat people running is going to go. Now some wingers that goes when they turn 38. Cristiano Ronaldo. Maybe he's like 36 when his speed left him. But like there's going to have to be a succession plan, and Solomon might be that. I think that they hoped that Brian Hill would be that, but like he just can't get comfortable playing in England. He can't put together a run of games in England and see anywhere near the production that he gets in Spain. So like I think that the Brian Hill experiment has probably just got to be over.
That brings us to the statistically best winger in the league last year in every category except putting the ball in the back of the net, which is a very important one. And that's Timo Werner. He was in more than 5 categories of high-end analytics. He was the best winged attacking player in the league.
Now
I have such a hard time believing that.
Now, when he says this, loyal listeners, he means like the nerd analytics. It's like
analytics.
It's like
expected goals, expected assists.
Not even those things. It's
number of grass flakes leaped across without people within 10 yards of him.
It's like extra nerdy analytics. It's not like real statistics like take-ons and crosses, successful crosses and things like that.
On a wet pitch, the water spray comes up highest on his right boot with a sprint. Yeah,
these are extra nerdy.
The important things.
Statistically, the best.
Yeah, obviously.
I was trying to find the stats, but it's
he's a loanee. He's a loanee though. He's back to Leipzig. Is that where he's at?
No, we confirmed it.
You did. So he's a full.
It was something like 10 more million or 15 more million to confirm.
I think it's another loan though. Transfer Market says it's another loan. So
okay. I thought we confirmed the transfer.
I wonder if it was an initial 6-month loan. An initial 6-month loan with an option for an additional 12 months. So like altogether like an 18-month loan, but there was an option at the end of the 6 months in case he didn't play a lot and didn't want to do it. But yeah, I think it's technically a loan.
He is just not even close to the player in England that he is in Germany. And even his second stint back in Germany, he's not even close to what he was the first time.
I mean, I guess my question is like, do you think that Timo Werner is the guy to help Spurs challenge Manchester City for the title?
I can tell you that my eyeballs said he is a very useful left winger. Okay. I can also tell you that my eyeballs did not view him convert those chances very often.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is he's the player that's going to carry you past like playing Spartak Prague in the group stage of the Europa.
Yes. That is what I'm saying. He is a very useful player. But to answer your question, that is no, James.
Yeah, like and so like maybe that's the point I'm coming to with this Spurs squad is I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, Ange is talking about winning. Ange is like the only point of playing football is to win, and if you're not winning, you need to be winning. And at the end of the first 10 games last season, Spurs were going to win the league, right? Any we talked to Spurs fans, we talked to the pundits, everyone was super high on Spurs. Now, obviously, like time caught up with them, and like like the other 28 games in the season caught up to them. But like this is the way Spurs are talking internally. This is the way that Spurs are being viewed, as that like they want to be winning the Premier League. And I look at this team, and I in my mind I just need to compare it to Manchester City, because City are the gold standard in the Premier League, and I don't think it's even close to comparable to the Manchester City team, right? And I understand like that's not necessarily like being as good as the best team isn't like a guarantee. Like it doesn't mean that you're going to win the league, right? Like just because City has the best players on paper doesn't mean that they're going to win the league. But at the same time, like I think about this team and I compare it to Arsenal. I think it's worse than Arsenal. I think it's worse than City. I don't think it's as good as Liverpool. I think the midfield at Liverpool is much better. I think defense is probably a toss up. I think it's probably on par with Chelsea, which and I'm a lot more confident in Manchester United than any of you guys are. So maybe it's probably on par with Manchester United. But like if I look at this roster and I think fighting for a Champions League spot next year, do you think that that's a fair assessment of this team?
I think, well, first of all, that's where what's the old Bill Parcells quote is, "You are what your record says you are."
Certainly.
So I think fighting for a Champions League spot is exactly what we proved we are last year. So that is an improvement than the year prior. So this is a work in progress to flip the roster to a younger roster. We had a very old roster a number of years ago. We flipped the defense. Our oldest defender is Romero, who is only 26. And center backs usually can go a little bit longer than the attackers can. So 26 is probably entering his prime, relatively speaking, or at least at the beginning of it. And that's our oldest defender. So we have gotten younger. We were playing. I think we had the second youngest roster last year behind Chelsea. And they've just got to improve. I wonder. You say this isn't a good enough roster to do it. I wonder if you have the same thing to say next season, then we have a problem. Then players didn't get better, then we didn't improve, then there wasn't growth happening with some of these younger players who were 20 or 21 and now they're 22, 23. Then we've got a bigger problem that there isn't growth being seen with the younger players, because that's the point, right? That's, you go to a younger roster because you want those players to grow into their potential. So I would love to see a big leap forward for Sarr. I'd like to see Archie Gray break into the mold, to the fold there. Solomon, Johnson, get Feliz in there. These younger players that we've bought, if we get them on the pitch and they start producing, well, now we've got a different conversation next summer, don't we?
Certainly. Yeah, absolutely. And maybe it's unfair of me to ask the question, like, can these guys compete for the championship? Because it's only the second year of Ange's reign here, and he's had 2 summers now to implement a transfer strategy and work on building the culture of the club. So like I fully recognize it's a loaded question. Arteta's going on year 5, I think, at Arsenal and hasn't won the Premier League yet. So I mean,
and we flipped the roster in a little bit different way than say you or even Liverpool did, where you guys bought proven commodities that were also young. When you got Ben White, he was pretty young, but you could tell he was at Brighton and he was a darn good player. When you brought back Saliba from France, you knew he was going to be good.
Got Odegaard from Real
young.
Madrid.
Yeah, it's good. And
Jesus is fairly young. Got him from City. Yeah.
Same with Liverpool with Gakpo. I mean, he's been hit or miss, but he is a talented player for sure. And maybe that wasn't the right example.
Well, we
The
got
example I was looking
Gakpo on
for
the
was
tail of the World Cup. We got Soboslai who performed well in Germany.
Soboslai.
Yeah,
Is
but
who I
again,
was
like
looking for,
he wasn't that well known. And he played.
and
Was
then
it, I think he from
McAllister.
Leipzig. And yeah, now
Yeah,
McAllister was an absolute known that could play in the Premier
yeah,
League and do that.
and
But
is young.
Soboslai wasn't.
That was such a good
Soboslai
signing.
was this random Hungarian we get from Leipzig who had a great season at Leipzig and helped them do well. But they finished 4th, 5th in the league. I mean, I can't remember that season, but and then
McAllister was the one I was searching for. That
and then we signed
and Van Dijk.
Endo, 30,
Yeah,
30-year-old guy who played for a lower league or lower Japanese team or sorry, German team in the Bundesliga. I think I came from Hoffenheim or Wolfsburg or something like that. I actually don't remember. But he was the what are we doing kind of pick. Chelsea has stolen all of the people that we thought we were going to get. Let's just get somebody. Now, granted, I think he turned out to be a great squad player, and played the role that he needed to play for Liverpool better than anyone could have expected. But we also didn't expect to lose Bajicic for the full season. So, because he was the guy that was, I think, meant to play that position, and then McAllister ended up playing it real well, and Soboslai ended up being so good, even though it fell off a little bit at the end. But yeah, I mean, my thing with Tottenham is this is your European season for the first time in a while, like 3 years. Is it 2?
We were Champions League 2 years ago. Yeah.
Was it okay? So, but last year you weren't in anything, right? And then Conference League, and then Champions League.
Last year was the first year in, I think, close to a decade that we were not in any competition.
In the year,
one of those years was a conference. Last year we missed. The year prior we were in the Champions League. The year prior we were in
the conference. So
yeah. So
okay. So that's kind of essentially make my point. When y'all were in the Conference League, y'all played like you did not care at all, and you were very adamant about that on the podcast that you guys didn't care at all.
But
then you go play in the Champions.
Didn't they get screwed over the death of the Queen?
We didn't. No, it was COVID. I thought, COVID outbreak, caused with a nowhere to reschedule the game.
So you guys had to
we had to forfeit the game, which made us lose the group.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, you guys played in the Champions League, and then the following season you fell apart, and a lot of that I think is attributed to, again, you mentioned this earlier, where you don't have the 78 players that Chelsea has. You have a depth issue, and we've already talked about that defensively, but I mean, I feel like your midfield is probably the strongest aspect of your roster. I think you guys are okay. I think you're solid-ish in the back as long as you don't have a single injury the entire season, which is never going to happen. And then offensively, you have a bunch of what ifs. Like, it would be good. You've got projects up front, and hoping that Son can play a European schedule again at 32 and remain healthy after what's been reported as him having a nagging injury that's probably still going to be there this year. So it would be good for Tottenham probably to get a known entity up front, which I don't think you guys are going to probably get. But I as of right now, and I don't think you guys are going to have the depth to compete through the season in every competition and be able to qualify for the Champions League. It's like you're going to have to, I think it's going to be one of those seasons where you're going to have to pick development of your youth and either maybe a cup, which again, if I'm Tottenham, I'm going to probably go for the League Cup just so I can lift some silverware, and then throwing away the Europa League and focusing on trying to qualify for the Champions League that way, because I don't think you win the Europa. I don't think you win the Europa League.
No, and the way I feel about the roster is and obviously I'm a little bit more partial with my heart to a lot of these players. I feel if we rocked into the season with this current roster, with the current additions, with no subtractions, I think we are finishing better than we did last year, assuming we don't have catastrophic injuries like we did last year. Because those weren't just injuries. Like Newcastle had it a lot worse, where they had season-ending injuries. we had soft tissue injuries. We had a tear, a hamstring tear for Van de Ven. Romero went down a little bit for a while, I believe. James Madison tore a groin or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they were out, but the timetables were kind of mixed bag, and they were all about 2-3 months. It ended up being, but Newcastle they were ones where, okay, this guy's done for the season, this guy's done for the season, this guy's done for the season. As long as we don't get catastrophic injuries, I think we're okay next year. But we do need help up front. We do need help in the back. For those inevitable injuries, because the injuryless season is never going to happen.
No, it's never going to happen. But this could also be the season where Sanj, or whatever his name is, proves that he is of that caliber of quality of manager and can find the best out of the front, whatever you have up front, and figure out how to create goals. And maybe you have injuries up there and you have enough to play with to handle that depth, and you can just keep your back four healthy and most of your midfield healthy, you have a pretty decent shot. But I mean, again, just looking at Chelsea was injury riddled last year. Even though they have 215 players, I don't know how they can't fill 11 with that many. Liverpool had their issues with, especially in the one cup game where we played an average age of like 12 years old or something. and then Newcastle was a disaster. But Newcastle did recover a bit, but they absolutely underperformed based on everybody's projections of how good that we thought we were going to be. They were going to be.
Yeah, it was all injuries. It was I said at some point around the midpoint season, if Eddie Howe qualifies for Europe, he deserves the manager of the year. Their injury list was so bad.
It was bad.
So extensive that I was like, if he can pull this out of a hat and put him into Europe, that is a top tier managing.
But
job.
That's the depth issue again as well, right? So they lost I think it was like 3 players to really bad injuries, and they couldn't replace them because they didn't really have the depth. And I think that's the same problem Tottenham might have.
One got suspended, so
yeah,
that was not an injury, but also gone for the season.
Yeah.
Well, let us know what you guys think. Where does this Tottenham team finish? We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Join our Discord also if you have some longer form thoughts that you want to share there. Or if you want to talk about F1, we're talking a lot of F1 these days because the season is spicy in the Formula One Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship. But let us know what you guys think about Tottenham. You can find us on Twitter, or I guess X. Sean is at @whiteheart_. Sean, Jimmy is at Team Dugan, just at Team Dugan, right?
Yep, that's it.
And I am at James Tiffany. Collectively, we are at redcard_radio, info.redcardradio@gmail.com if you need us. But until then, next week is the first podcast that I will not be on in the entire in all of Red Card Radio. I will not be here next week for the first time. So Sean, you and Brad I better have something interesting cooked up because I will be listening, waiting intently for it.
Oh, good Lord.
Also, hopefully one of you guys knows how to upload the podcast and do all the stuff that you have to do. But we'll see.
Oh yeah, we have interns.
News to me. But until then, we will see you all next week. I hope you guys have a good one. Thanks so much for listening.